Greetings everyone, and welcome to the next part of my Laserdisc collection overview, the remnants of my Laserdisc collection. Today we're going to talk about a couple of vampire movies that I have in the collection. So let's get to it today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Alrighty, I can tell all the vampire fans out there have been dying to know which vampire movies I have in my collection. Of course, I used to have a lot more. I used to have some of the big notable ones like Bram Stoker's Dracula and Interview with the Vampire, which I rewatched countless times because that's one of my all-time favorite vampire movies. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, but the only ones I actually have left, we'll start with this one, Nadia, which is actually a low-budget independent film. It's kind of a remake of Dracula's Daughter, which you may recall I've talked about in my old reviews of the Universal Monsters Legacy Collection. Dracula's Daughter was the first sequel to the original Dracula, and Nadia is kind of a remake of it. Now the sleeve here is in kind of rough shape. The elephant condom is sticking out the bottom there, and yeah. But kind of cool, it was actually executive produced by David Lynch. Yeah, can't go wrong there. Filmed in beautiful black and white, and stars Peter Fonda as Van Helsing. Now, it is actually set in modern times, and is kind of a modern alternative culture kind of take on the old vampire story. Very well done. I definitely recommend checking this out if you're a fan of vampire movies. Now, one of the things that's kind of interesting about this is stylistically, they chose to do the point of view of the vampire characters in a particular way. Now, I remember back in the, I guess, mid to late 80s, Fisher-Price actually put out a video camera. The cool thing about it was it actually used audio cassettes, like just regular, standard audio cassettes that you could get at the local Radio Shack, instead of videotapes. And it was, a pretty durable camera that kids could use and throw around and stuff. Now, it wasn't the greatest quality, obviously, because, there's not going to be a lot of bandwidth on an audio tape, but, it was a pretty cool idea. It was definitely a cheap way to give your kid a video camera and let him make little movies with his friends and stuff. I don't think it had sound or anything like that. It was just purely video. But, you can make little silent black and white movies with your friends with this, I think it was about $200. It's kind of funny. This was cheap back then, because back then typically a normal video camera would be about $1,000 or more for a good one, but this Fisher-Price camera was about $200. Now you think now, what can you get for $200 in terms of a camera? You can get like a high definition flip cam, a high definition camera for $200 or less. Actually, they've got high definition webcams now for less than $100. They sell some of them for what, like $40 or less, depending where you shop and what kind of resolution you're talking about. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy the way things have evolved. Anyway, the cool thing about this camera was they decided to use it in the movie for the vampire vision. So whenever you were seeing the point of view of the vampire characters, it would be shot with this old Fisher-Price camera. And it was very pixelated and everything, but they did it in such a way that it was very stylistic, and it kind of fit in and gave it this kind of strange, otherworldly look that, I can't recall any other examples of anybody ever using in an actual movie. The rest of it was obviously filmed on film. So yeah, there was all these moments in the film where they would cut to this Fisher-Price camera vision for the vampire's point of view. It was pretty cool. And they actually credit the camera in the ending credits as well, which is pretty neat. Now, the other vampire movie that I have is another low-budgeter. Now, this one is nowhere near as classy as this one. This is actually a quality film, and I recommend it. This one, however, is basically just one of those good old so bad it's, well, still bad movies. But I like it because it has its own kind of charm. Yeah, and there's some sex in there too. Good old blood and sex. The Velvet Vampire, in case you can't read for whatever reason. Now, the funny thing is about this particular movie is this is from 1971. A lot of cheesy B-grade horror movies from that era were kind of noted for their TNA and blood and guts. Now, the thing about the Velvet Vampire, oh, fluff, be gone, is there is some TNA in it. There is a few sex scenes in it, but there really isn't a lot of blood and guts in it. It's really not a very gory or particularly scary horror movie at all. And it actually seems like a lot of the dialogue was kind of improvised. Because you know how when actors who aren't particularly good try to do improv, yeah, it doesn't work out very well. They're trying to make it seem like just natural dialogue, but it just comes across as really awkward and stilted, like they don't really know what they're talking about and they're drifting in and out of character, and it's just, yeah. Well, the Velvet Vampire is full of stuff like that, so yeah. I remember showing this to my girlfriend at the time. I was trying to introduce her to the whole concept of watching cheesy B movies and enjoying them because they were so bad. But I don't think she quite got the idea, because I remember we were watching this, we got about halfway through it, and she said, you know, I'm really not into this movie. And I said, oh, well, okay, I guess we'll stop then. Mission failed. And I learned talking to her afterwards that she had thought that I was showing it to her, you know, as a recommendation of a good movie. So she was taking it totally seriously and at face value, and not enjoying it for the badness, you know, which is what I had intended. But she didn't quite get the idea. I guess she didn't really, just wasn't into that kind of thing, unfortunately. So yeah, needless to say, it didn't last very long, but it was fun while it lasted. She was a big X-Files fan, though, so we at least had that in common. But that's about where it ended. There wasn't a lot of other sort of common ground as far as, you know, movie interests and whatnot. But anyway, yeah, The Velvet Vampire, kind of a guilty pleasure movie. I always liked it for its cheesiness, and I don't know that this has actually come out on DVD. I haven't seen it around for a very long time. I think it did. I think it did a while back. There was like sort of a, you know, release that nobody noticed. But I do recall seeing it kicking around on DVD at some point. Anyway, just a short episode this time. That's a couple of vampire movies that I have in my collection. There's really, you know, not much more I can say about them. Definitely check out this one. Yeah, there you go. So watch this one because it's a totally classy vampire movie. Definitely worth a look. And Peter Fonda is just a hoot as the Van Helsing character in this. And absolutely a blast. And if you just enjoy some good old cheesy B-movie fun, you might want to check this one out too. It's definitely got some ridiculously bad acting and horribly staged scenes that I'm sure all you B-movie fans out there will enjoy for their just sheer awfulness. Yeah. Alrighty, well that's it from me to you for now. So until next time, thanks for watching, and sayonara. A lot of cheesy B-movie, like, a lot of Sorry, so yeah, watch this one, because it's a totally classy horror movie, vampire, yeah.